Hello, you're watching a Map Business Online video presentation. We're going to focus on calculated data columns, which is a way to put additional labels well, just create additional data from demographic data within Map Business Online or using data that you've imported. You can actually add columns together. And so what I'm going to do is create a calculated data column that combines a set of demographic data within the application. And we're going to do it by state. So you have to do it by each map layer. So if you're going to add some labels, for instance, to a county layer, then you've got to set up your calculated data by county. So in this case, we're working with states here, putting labels on a map, appending the 5 flexible fields to the state layer label. And when we want to add calculated data columns to that option, we click the edit gear for that map layer properties, and you'll see we've got this button down here called Manage Calculated Data Columns. And so I've already got one here for Pacific Islander kids. I've already actually put it on the labels on the map, but I'll just quickly click on the edit button for that particular. You can see I label it there. I can manage the number in terms of formatting, and then the formula options are here. So if I went to formula options and just clicked my little formula, simple formula option there, you can see where I've taken the race of Pacific Islanders and moved that population data from the left side using these blue arrow buttons to the right side, clicked save or add before it's done, and then that ends up being my calculated data column. So let's do another one so you can see it from scratch. So at the state level, we're going to click the Manage Calculated Data Columns button. I'm going to close, I'm going to add, excuse me, I'm going to add a data column. And this one, I just saw this data in the Census Bureau, and I think it's kind of funny. We're going to combine some population for other races because that seems like an important thing. I wouldn't want to end up living next to an other race. So let's click next once we've named it. Let's choose that data. So I'm just going to go down through our projection data here, and I'm going to look at the races. There they are. We've got Black, we've got American Indian, we've got Asian, we've got Pacific Islander, and there it is, the dreaded other race. Don't want them living next door to us. So let's find out what we've got between the ages of 20, and you could bring over a line one at a time. We did 20 to 24, so you could do 25 to 29, and then going, probably whatever you do would be in consistent sets. So you would want to take the years that are side by side and not just jump around so that there's some sort of sense to the data that you bring over. And then we'll just go with that last one. Now you could take several at once just by holding the shift key and selecting that way. So if I went here, for instance, and I held down, I guess in that case it's control, I'm holding the control key, I could move all those over. And then I could also move them back. So that's just different ways to select. Once you're done, you've got your selection. We'll call that add. And we click the add button, and now we've got another calculated data column set in our state level layer. And so where that shows up in our labeling is if we go to the state level, click the Edit Map Properties button, go to Labels over here on the left tab, Format Labels. These auto labels are what you see here. A custom label is what happens when you hover over a map and a label pops up. They're set up the same way as auto labels, so make sure you're clicked into auto label. Then just scroll down to a flexible field that's open. You can see I've got my Pac Island kids here, Pacific Island kids, of which there are none in North Dakota. And then down here, I'm going to put in my new calculated data column. So what do? I do the drop down for my options and I click calculated. And I know that it's what I want is the other. So I've got other selected here. And then we're going to say other race. And I'm going to click change labels. And look at that. Lo and behold, they show right up on the map. Uh, if you were to put a custom label in there, it would assign that below Illinois on the pop-up label. So that's where the custom labels come up. You can fine tune your map when you get done. I've made the borders darker. I've got a blue background here. I did mention in the blog that you can go in under map options and you can actually edit the background color. So if you wanted to make the background color crazy red, uh, black, whatever you want to do, you've got the ability to edit some of that information, the coloring, and that's always kind of nice. Um, and then in terms of formatting, the other thing you can do from map options is show a map title. So let's put a map title in. So up comes my little tool here and the map title. So I'm just going to manipulate the box a little bit, and I'm going to call this key population segments for peace and security. Call it whatever you'd like. And we're just being facetious in our little map example here. So then you can close this. You do have options in the title, of course, for changing the bold and the italic, that kind of stuff for the title. Just click out of it. You can select it and move it around, which is always helpful. You can open it and close it. Excuse me, I just stretch it and move it that way. So I want to be able to move this thing. There we go. You just got to select it with your cursor. All right, go to Map Business Online, take our free trial, and find out how many Pacific Islanders live in your state.